Hello and welcome back to Sharin No Kuni. And I just saw in the last episode that I was way too quiet. Sometimes you could barely hear what I said because the music was on some parts so overwhelming. And was this in other episodes as well and I just didn't notice it? If so, I'm sorry for that. I'm not always watching every video, I just listen in some parts and I totally forgot to check in on the loud parts, so god damn it. Anyway, sorry for the long delay and for the pause in between and all of that. I mean, I don't really have any excuse why I haven't continued yet, but now we will continue. Well, the only excuse I had you heard yesterday, but that was, I think, 2 days ago. I'm not even sure anymore. But here we are, and we continue. Dots. A lot of dots. They were keeping a pretty tight watch on the other side of the grounds. I saw an opportunity when One-chan began her speech, however. Huh. I carefully broke the first floor window and stepped into the classroom. Oh, it's that kind of hard. Phew. Was the infiltration a success? It didn't look like anyone had noticed me yet. I needed to act in accordance with the developments outside. I hid myself in the dark classroom and waited. This classroom looks pretty lit to me. One-chan's voice reached my ears. Okay. Higuchi Ririko continued recounting her past as one bearing the maximum penalty in a flat tone.
私はかつて足を怪我した移民の少年を見ました。彼は道端に倒れて動けず、じっとしていました。そこに女の子がやってきました。彼女は少年を見るや、すぐに家から救急箱を持ってきて包帯を巻き、医者へ連れて行きました。その女の子は医者から嫌味を言われ、両親に叱られました。助けた少年はお金に変わりました。
What? Once, I came across a foreign boy with an injured leg. He was fallen by the roadside, unable to move. After some time, a girl came across him. As soon as she saw him, she went back to her house and grabbed the first aid kit and some bandages. She then brought him to a doctor. However, both the doctor and her parents scolded her for taking the boy to find help. As soon as they finished treating him, he was sold off. What does it mean? I don't really get this. I came across a foreign... Oh, a foreign. Oh, now I know. She was scolded because she helped an injured human like herself? Only because he was from another country? And I thought some other countries are fucked up in that department. I don't want to name one, but one is very, very significantly floating in my head right now. And I think I did her voice quite wrong. I really have always to get into the groove again. As soon as they finished treating him, he was sold off. Oh yeah, sold off, so he was sold like a slave. Like Mana. Ugh. Hopefully we get an ending where we can see Mana again. She had encountered so many things. And all of them had led her to vexation. Whatever that means. I'll write the first word I have to look up in this playthrough. Well, not in this playthrough, but in this session, at least. Vexation. Oh, please load faster. There. Oh! Okay, let's see. Vexation, annoyance, bother, worry and displeasure. Okay. She was unable to lend a helping hand. She was unable to even speak out. She continued to allow her pent-up emotions to spill forth.
恋人を暴漢から守ろうとした青年がいました。彼は感情のあまり相手に重傷を負わせてしまいました。暴漢はその後特別高等人候補生の医師による医療ミスで死亡しましたが、死因は青年の殴打とされました。正当防衛は立証されず、青年は子供を持てない義務を負いました。助けられた女性は彼と結ばれるため、すでに妊娠していた子供を下ろしました。
What? Once, I came across a young man who saved the woman he was in love with from a criminal. Let me tell you, his feelings for her were a sight to behold. The criminal was taken to a doctor who was a special high-class individual cadet, where he then died due to medical negligence. Medical negligence. But keep that in mind. However, they then ruled that his cause of death was the beating he had received from the young man I mentioned. The defending party failed to establish a case for reasonable self-defense, and so he was burdened with the obligation to never have children. His girlfriend was already pregnant at the time. She was forced to abort her child. How fucked up can a country be to fault someone who protected someone else from a criminal, from an ever obvious criminal? And how was it possible to not establish a case for self-defense? He may have not defended herself, but he defended someone who couldn't defend themselves. So why the hell was there not a case to made? And why the hell was he punished for something? A criminal, for something he did to an obvious criminal who assaulted another human? What? This is more fucked up than I would have ever imagined. This event had happened within this very town. She had known that someone within the crowd would react to its mention.
私はこれが間違っていると思います。
I think that this is wrong. And she's absolutely right. This is wrong in every sense of the word. Absolutely wrong. Something like this shouldn't happen. I know dumb shit happens even in the real world all the time with judges and jury and all of that. But I can hardly imagine that something like this could actually happen. I mean, if the evidence is so clear, but... Oh. She continued to describe events which anyone would decry as being wrong.
病気がちな老人がいました。医者から死期を宣告された家族は、看病のため仕事の休暇を申請しました。この経験は皆さんにもあるはずです。無論申請は却下されました。若い日の社会貢献度が高い老人でない限り、余生を家族と過ごすことはできません。無駄な時間として処理されますから。しかし余生を幸せに送れるのは特別高等人をはじめとする国の役員だけです。
Oh god, my throat is all... It's all weird. Okay. Once, I came across a sickly old man. After his doctor reported that his prognosis was death to his family, they applied for a vacation from his work so that he could be nursed. I'm sure you've all experienced something like this before. Of course, their application was rejected. After all, you are not allowed to spend the rest of your days with your family. Unless, of course, you have made contributions to society which have been deemed significant in your younger days. It would just be a waste of time and energy otherwise. Only executive figures can spend their old age comfortably, particularly special high-class individuals. So this is a little bit confusing. It still sounds wrong. Wait, maybe I didn't grasp it. Let me see this again. Okay, a sickly old man. After his doctor reported that it was death to his family, they applied for a vacation. The family applied a vacation? I'll experience something like this before. Of course, the application was rejected. You are not allowed to spend the rest of your days with him unless... Oh! So he was already sick? He was diagnosed with certain deaths? In a very short time? And they rejected his form to spend the rest of his few days he had to his family because he hasn't worked enough in his life? I mean, how... Once and all, he's already sick. So if you're sick, you can't work anyhow. And... I think, why does he just not report in sick? I mean, if he's already a sickly old man, then he can... Well, at least that would be possible in my country, to report in sick. I mean, it would not be only reported... Of course, the one who's giving work to you does not need to know what the case is. So, this is something you can do if your vacation is rejected for unreasonable reasons, which shouldn't be the case, because that is also in our law that should only happen in very special cases. And if someone is already sick and he can just call him sick and let it, in my country at least, vote off from a doctor, and on top of that, even if I would ever hear that, I would just pledge off that I'm not only physical but also mental sick after that, because, oh man, the desperation that kicks in if you get reported with, well, you are going to die in a few days. Well, I hope you all have fun working. What? Oh, of course, but this particular sentence about only executive figures. I mean, in my country, this is a topic in payment. If you were an executive figure like a politician or how was it called? Yeah, executive figure or politician or anything like that, then you get almost double, triple, even sometimes 10 times the amount as your... Wait, how's it called in English? Sorry, I really have to look this up. Let's see. Their pension. The executives get 4, 5, almost 10 times the pension a normal worker would get. So someone who isn't in an executive stage. So this is something I can also compare this to. And yeah, they somehow served society, but they served society almost equally as much as any executive from the stage. And still, they get so much less than anyone who was an executive before. I mean, this... Oh, God. But anyhow... Higuchi Ririko shed light upon the country's crimes. She spoke with great earnestness of the ways in which the crooked society forced responsibility onto the individual. I want to kick in his face. ... I snuck up behind a guard and knocked him out. So far, Oni-chan's information has been accurate. The entrance to the basement was up ahead. Oni-chan said that there should be 4 guards around this corner. Although, if our plan is working, then they should have been sent outside to help calm down the crowd. I tiptoed through the hallway.
極刑を受けた人間が2人もこの町に
2? There are 2 people with the maximum penalty in this town. I heard whispers. I peered around the corner. There were still 4 men on guard, which meant that there was a good chance that Pops hadn't even started to move yet. If I didn't keep up with what was happening outside, then I would encounter Pops before I even had the chance to rescue Natsumi.
階段前の教室が地下への扉にも近くて待機に向いてるわ。
The classroom in front of the stairs is close to the door to the basement and well suited for keeping watch. For the time being, I looked for a spot to hide myself in.
すべての学問は哲学から始まりました。それはすべて豊かに生きるためのものです。いかに己の性を全うするかを考えないのであれば、絵を描くことも料理を作ることも人を愛することもすべて無意味です。
Wait, I have to look up the words before I actually start to read. I'm really sorry, but always the words I can't make heads or tails of. But the music is great, I have to say. Oh yeah, abundance, of course. Why abundance? Okay, yeah, okay, I should have seen that coming. Okay. Education began with philosophy. It was all for the sake of living a life of abundance. If one does not wish to live for oneself, then things such as painting pictures, cooking, or even loving someone else are meaningless. I have a hard time to understand this sentence. I think I know what it means, but the issue with the sentence, education began with philosophy. It was all for the sake of living a life of abundance. If one does not wish to live for oneself, then things such as painting pictures, cooking, or even loving someone else are meaningless. If one does not wish to live for oneself, so if one does not wish to live all by himself alone, then things such as painting pictures, cooking, or even loving someone else are meaningless. Does wish to live for... Why am I having such a hard time to understand this sentence? Education began with... I'm sorry that I feel so dumb right now. If one does not wish to live for oneself, so all alone, then things such as painting pictures, cooking, or even loving someone else are meaningless. The sentence sounds like it's contradicting itself. If one does not wish to live for oneself, so all by himself alone, then things such as painting pictures, cooking, or even loving someone else are meaningless. If one does wish to live with others, This is the problem I have. If I scratch out the negative and change oneself with someone else, then the sentence would say, if one does wish to live for others, then things such as painting, pictures, cooking, or even loving someone else are meaningless. So that means that if you live for others, cooking, painting, and loving someone is meaningless. What? Oh, please, someone explain me that. I think I'm too dumb, or I already forgot the context from before. Distressed. The atmosphere that spread throughout the grounds was now frigid. The crowd had fallen into complete chaos. Many of them were now paying attention to the figure upon the rooftop, only pretending to cast their gaze upon the sunflower. The eyes of the security police emanated such terror that many found it easier to stare down at the ground, however.
我々は無意味なことに耐えて生きることはできません。無意味なこと。例えば、穴を掘って、その穴をまた自ら埋める。それがあなたの仕事だと。そう言われたら、きっと皆さんは生きる力を失うでしょう。
We cannot persist in our pursuit of life if we are forced to endure that which lacks meaning. For example, say you are told to dig a hole and fill it with dirt. I'm sure you would lose all motivation indeed. Your very reason to live if you were told that this would be your task for the rest of your life. Yes, it would be. So, education began with philosophy. A variety of reactions had flickered into life within the crowd. There were those who were simply annoyed with the blather, wishing for it to come to an end, and there were those who had adopted an air of much consideration.
皆さんはどうお思いですか？日々の皆さんの営みに意味を見出せていますか？意味を作らされていませんか？気づかないうちに穴を掘らされていないでしょうか？その穴を埋める毎日に満足させられていませんか？
What do you think, everyone? Can you find meaning in the way you're living now? Is your meaning not being manufactured for you? Are you not being forced to dig your own holes without your consent, without even your awareness of this fact? Have you not been forced to find satisfaction in the act of digging these holes? Yep. I really adore this game for the sole thing that it actually addresses my own issues in life. I have a hard time to actually find a meaning in anything I do recently. I mean, I try to find a meaning for myself, for something that I can do and enjoy. YouTube became something like that for me. It may be not a big thing, but it is, on the one hand, good that it is currently a thing that gives me meaning, but also it is a little bit sad because it's almost the only meaning I currently have in my life. And that's the really sad thing about this. As great as I find it to find myself with even more subscribers and commenters and people I can interact with and who seem to enjoy the videos I create and the reactions I give them and the thoughts I put out there within those videos, in a lot of times, not all the times, but that even those few people that I hear commenting, watching, and finding enjoyment out of that too, that gives me a great sense of meaning. And I really don't want to put it down. But I really would wish for an even bigger meaning in my life than only YouTube. But as I said, I'm happy that I have you here, that you are with me here, that you are enjoying this journey with me together, and yeah, I get a great deal of satisfaction out of that, and that is really a good feeling. So yeah, that's why wait, didn't I start with that's why I like this game? That it tries to really wire you up and seek for something instead of doing what others tell you you should do, instead of doing what you really want to do. And currently, this is the only thing I really want to do. I want to play video games and do it on YouTube, reacting, communicating and stuff like that. Because in the little town where I live, there are just not many people who share my passion for anime or for the English language or for a lot of games. Anyway, that was enough. I think I should continue now and not blabbing about myself. Thoughts burst forth. Just what does she mean by something meaningless? Actually, wouldn't this situation be a perfect example of it? Yeah, that's right. What meaning is there in forcing us to pay witness to such barbarism? Yep, there's no meaning in it. The only meaning is to make you scared and obedient. I mean, that's how unfortunately the world currently works. They work because of fears you have. You have fear of losing your job. You have fear that you have not enough money to support you when you get old. You have fear about if the terrorist or whatever can suddenly flip your whole world upside down. Fear is how this world currently is weighing. Maybe the Cold War is over, but it feels the same time as cold as ever, with Russia and America both having this little red button that could end it all in a press of a button, literally. That's sadly how it works. That's how everyone is keeping in check, by fear. And that is really sad view on this land. And I'm sorry that I had to mention Russia and America for being the two main forces who, I would almost say, hate each other, but not as much to blow each other up yet. But it is a fear that it is in everyone's heart. Currently, the only thing people fear more currently is terrorism. But it really pales in comparison to what those two supermights could do with one press of a button.
この町は内乱の時に一度焼かれ、皆さんの親族の方々にも多くの犠牲者が出たと聞いています。皆さんのご両親、あるいは祖父母の方々はなぜ私の父、樋口三郎に協力してくれたのでしょうか。
And I have to say that I'm sorry that this got so... I think it got a little political, but those were the best examples I could pull out of wherever the sun not shines. So, yeah, I don't want to steer a really back and forth discussion down in the comments just because I said something like that. Sometimes I burst out stupid things, and sometimes I think that's the best way I can express what I'm currently thinking. It's not that I want to downplay terrorism or anything like that. And I don't really want to get this in such a dark direction. I didn't even intend it to, but I mean, this novel actually gives... This novel is so true to the very sense of what is going on in the world, despite its age. It's really frightening almost. Well, it is frightening. That's how up to date this game is, despite how dated it is. I don't even know how dated it is, but I think it's a few years old by now. But I think that only says that in every time there's a fucked up society somewhere. Back during the uprising, they burnt this town down. I hear that a great number of your family members were victims then. So then, just why did your parents, possibly even your grandparents, decide to cooperate with my father, Higuchi Saburo? They would not understand why, even if prompted with the question. All they knew was that Higuchi Saburo had garnered enthusiastic support. When the dust had settled, he had come under fire. The people of this nation were caught in an invisible current. They had praised Higuchi Saburo without knowing why, and then they had slandered him without knowing why.
この町には多くの義務を負った人々が滞在しています。皆さんはご存知でしょうか。彼らの多くは内乱のずっと前から我々の祖先が負っていた義務を継承させられた人たちです。鉱山発掘の義務が形を変え、義務を負っている理由が捏造されました。ほんの数十年前の話です。
Oh, that was long. Okay. There are many, many people bearing obligations living in this very town. Were you aware of this? In fact, many of them have simply inherited the obligations which their ancestors once held. Obligations handed down from a time long before the uprising. You see, the obligation to work in the mine changed its face over time. The very reasons why they bore the obligations became mere fabrications, and this all happened only a few decades ago. Wait. Obligation to work in the obligation to work in the mine changed its face over time. Why they bore the obligations became mere fabrications, and this all happened only... Okay. There were dozens of rehabilities within the crowd, and her latest words sent them into a furor. Most of them had been born bearing unjust obligations. Yeah, that's one of the more fucked up parts about this. That even the children of the parents get an obligation forced upon them. Because they committed what crime again? Being born by someone who led a rebellion? What has the child to do with what the parents do? Are they that afraid of the children of those that they think they could do the same thing? Just because there's this little potential there. Some of them had to perform public services without compensation, while others had to serve longer terms of duty in the military than average citizens.
僕でも知らないことだ。さすが姉上。
Not even I knew that. Leave it to her, I guess. A voice rose from within the crowd, a voice calling the people to action. Perhaps they had merely been awaiting the right timing. The public security police started to move. The situation would worsen if they let the instigator be. several men began making their way through the crowd, in accordance with standard procedure, where the crowd isn't even as thick as the text wants us to believe. The police violently pushed men and women out of their way. The instigator had known that the situation held the capability to provoke a riot.
皆さんはご先祖様に対してどうお考えでしょうか。余計なことをしてくれたもんだとお思いでしょうか。なぜこんな身に生まれたのかと、そうお嘆きでしょうか。
How do you all feel about your ancestors? Do you blame them for their actions? Do you grieve simply because you were born as who you are? The hearts of the rehabilitees ached. For their entire lives they had been taught that their obligations were the fault of their parents. They had been taught to consider their burdens as something natural, thanks to the country's policy of involvement.
私はそういった経緯と同様に連座制によって極刑を負いましたが、父を恨んだことも生まれたこの身を呪ったこともありません。
I too received the maximum penalty through the same involvement clause which has so degraded you. Yet I have never even once cursed my father, nor have I cursed the person who I was born to be. They did not know if the woman before them spoke the truth. They did, however, know that she was Higuchi Saburu's daughter, which meant that she might possess information which the denizens of this town were not privy to. Once more they would come to accept words decrying society's evils as the truth without possessing any particular reason for doing so.
私は父の言葉を直接耳にする機会が何度かありましたが、皆さんはご親族のお言葉を直接聞くことができず、別れ別れになってしまったと思います。
I was lucky enough to be able to hear my father's words personally, but those of you here today were separated from your ancestors without ever having had that opportunity. Her voice was indifferent, and yet it was brimming over with a certain power. The people standing before Higuchi Ririko began to feel a poignant sense of urgency.
ですが、先の内乱で倒れられた方、あるいは捕らえられてしまった方々の言葉は、最前線にて戦っていた父のもとに手紙として届けられており、それを故郷に戻って伝えるよう私に託されました。
However, the words of those who were lost or captured in the rebellion survive in the form of letters to my father. I was entrusted with returning those words to their hometown. Higuchi Ririko's Saga City made itself apparent. What does Saga City mean? And by the way, this goes on for quite a long time, so why does nobody stop her yet? This goes on for quite some time. Why were they not able to get on top of the roof to get her down there? Oh wait, the only one who can do that is actually, how is it called? Saburo Masaomi? Wait, god damn it! Hoizuki Masaomi, sorry. He's the only one who can actually put a stop to this. And it seems he hasn't moved an inch yet. So why does he let it happen? Oh god, I think he has a more sinister plan. Okay, let's see. Saga City. Oh! Intelligence! Instead of Saga City, he could have wrote, Higuchi Ririko's intelligence made itself apparent. Or cleverness, or cunningness. Her speech now contained content, that was relevant not only to the reabilities, but to everyone gathered before her.
父から私へ預けられた手紙の数々は、私が極刑を負う際に没収されてしまいましたが、私はその手紙の内容をほとんど覚えています。忘れることなどできなかったのです。
Those letters were seized from me when I received the maximum penalty, but I can still clearly recall the contents. Or perhaps I should say that I am incapable of forgetting what they had to say. The crowd had now become her audience. Her voice did not merely reach their ears, it penetrated them. Thoughts of longing for one's lost family now occupied the minds of the majority of those gathered. Anxiety continued to mount among the crowd.
今、ようやく私の父と皆さんのご親族の間で交わされたやりとりをお伝えできます。どうか聞いてください。皆さんへの遺言です。
I am now finally able to relay the correspondence between my father and your relatives. Please listen. Listen to this last will and testament handed down to all of you. A slight conflict suddenly arose. While searching for Isuno, a member of the public security force pushed an old woman who had been ardently listening to Higuchi Ririko's words to the ground. And that was the spark which lit the fire. It had grown quite noisy outside. I remained still, waiting for an opportunity to present itself.
お疲れ様です。
Welcome back, sir.
報告しろ。
Report.
異常ありません。
No abnormalities, sir.
屋上へ向かう。
I will now monitor the wolf and put an end to her. Oh god. Alright. Hoizuki was finally going to change positions.
ただ、どこぞにネズミが潜んでいるやもしれんな。
Uh-oh, he knows. He's not dumb. First, however, I believe that we may have a rat lurking around here. I held my breath, praying that Hoizuki wouldn't discover me.
例えば、この扉に近い教室の中など。
For instance, in the classroom near this door. How? One-chan.
森田はいないか？
Is there a Morita here? Wait, One-chan?
階段前の教室が地下への扉にも近くて待機に向いてるわ。
The classroom in front of... What? The classroom in front of the stairs is close to the door to the basement and well suited for keeping watch. Nice work, One-chan. Is he sarcastic?
だから絶対にそこで待機しちゃダメよ。
Oh! So, make absolutely certain that you don't keep watch there. I had concealed myself along the outside of the window.
確認しておく。ここに森田が現れた場合、お前たちの役割は？
I shall confirm it with you. In the event that Morita appears, what are your orders? Let me take a guess. Kill on sight. Oh, but he's outside the window. He's outside, but on the building. That's pretty clever.
時間を稼ぐことです。
Oh, not to kill him? To buy time, sir.
よろしい。
Very well. Was he gone? I heard the sound of his cane hitting against the floor grow more and more distant. If I was gonna do an If I was gonna do it, now was my chance. Yeah, that will totally work. Calm down, people! The people of the crowd now recognized the jester for what he was. Oh, it said, calm down, people! No. It would prove impossible for them to drag Hinata Natsumi out upon the platform presently. The mood of this undertaking had transformed absolutely. A youth attempted to accost a sturdy man wearing a uniform. Accost? It's something like assault, right? Let me see. Oh, okay. There we go. To annoy, to bother, to badger, or to pester. Criticism of the nation blared forth from a woman standing nearby. And yet, even now, there were those among the crowd who were quietly acting as if nothing were happening. These were the people who were most at risk of being thrust headfirst into the heat of the moment, as it were. All of this was the fault of Higuchi Saburu's daughter.
お伝えします。
I will now convey the messages to you. Higuchi Ririko disclosed the contents of the letters, her voice an anchor amid the maelstrom.
三郎さんの元へ行く私を許してほしい。私はこのまま命を落とす可能性もあるが、それでも未来のため、お前とまだお腹の中にいる子が幸せに生きていける社会を作るために、私は行くことを決意した。
Please forgive me for going with Saburo-san. I know that there is a chance I may lose my life, but I have decided to do this nonetheless, for I desire to protect our future and to create a society where you and our unborn child may live together in harmony and in happiness. The people's very souls were shaken as she read out the names affixed to those letters. Their fathers and their brothers who had marched alongside Higuchi Saburo did not express regret for their course of action.
ここに至って考えるのは、ただお前と子供の幸せだけだ。もうすぐ冬だから、風邪をひかないようにね。無事に子供を産んでほしい。それでは、行ってきます。
As we now go forth, I cannot bring myself to think of anything other than your happiness, and of the happiness of our child. Winter's on its way, so please take care not to fall ill, and please make sure that you give birth to a healthy child. That's all I have to say. The people that the members of the crowd had so cherished had set off toward the death of their own volition. Toward their death of their own volition. Even having tried to convince them otherwise would have proven truly absurd. And despite this, Higuchi Ririko's audience had somehow forgotten that they had shown these determined people off with smiling faces. The teacher who had once served as Natsumi's homeroom teacher recalled her lover, who had participated in the uprising. He had been an extraordinarily brave man. She desired to live justly, just as he once had.
耳を塞ぐなんてできるはずがないでしょ。
There's no way you can just ignore this! She lost herself in thought. Right beside her, however, was her esteemed colleague, One Kyoko, the woman raising her voice against society. The sight of Kyoko's tightly clenched hand filled her with an indescribable sort of agony. For this woman had always lived a just life. She had been recognized as possessing academic excellence by the school and by the Board of Education itself. Why, then, was she standing silently, merely crossing her arms? Why, then, were her legs trembling? Why, then, could she not seem to cast her gaze upward? A member of the security police advanced upon Kyoko. He growled at her, brandishing his baton in her direction. Kyoko did not so much as flinch. Her fellow teacher found this quite enigmatic indeed. Kyoko had been avoiding abstract or idealistic topics in her discussion with her as of late. As recently as the previous semester, however, the two of them had been able to enjoy heated discussion of such matters. The policeman assaulted Kyoko's shoulder with his baton, or baton. Her colleague acted as if she had seen nothing. She merely crossed her arms once more. Her education had taught her that such a blow would likely result in a broken bone. The man's baton aimed for Kyoko once more. Her colleague began pondering Kyoko's situation. It would appear that she had been getting along with her daughter quite admirably these past few weeks. She always seemed to have a smile plastered upon her face, and she occupied her free time with reading from cooking and family finance books. Truth be told, Kyoko was much more highly regarded by the students than she was herself. She felt an acute sense of envy for Kyoko. Their eyes met. In the next moment, her colleague found herself extending her own arms. She grabbed Kyoko's shoulders, shielding her from the baton's cruel descent. And suddenly she knew not but a splitting pain in the back of her head. Kyoko shouted out her name. However, she needed no lifeline to our world. Her consciousness was perfectly clear. She had forgotten all that stemmed from her refined philosophy. She had keys to criticize her society with words alone. She had done something stupid, and for some reason that knowledge gave her a sense of satisfaction.
お母さんへ。寒くなってきましたが、お体は大丈夫ですか？娘は元気でいるでしょうか？元気が良すぎて転んだり怪我などしていないか心配です。
I think she's talking about Sachi in that letter. To my beloved wife, it's been rather cold as of late. Are you holding up okay? Is my daughter still as rambunctious as ever? My only real worry is that she's too energetic, that she'll end up hurting herself one of these days. Higuchi Didiko announced the name of the girl who this man had been inquiring about. A girl in the crowd who had been staring at her feet suddenly snapped her neck upward so that she could gaze in the direction of the sunflower. Somehow the sunflower reminded her of Hinata Natsumi. She didn't like that very much. Okay, it was not about Sachi, my bad. I only heard energetic. And yet she found herself unable to avert her eyes. She felt as if her father were speaking directly to her. She could not quell the rush of emotion which had arisen within her.
もうすぐ娘の誕生日なので洋服を買ってあげたいのですが、都会の街は戒厳令が敷かれていて 出歩くこともできません。でもそれももうすぐ解かれるでしょう。お母さんたちが安心して暮らせるようになるまで私はこちらで頑張ります。
It's getting close to my lovely daughter's birthday, so I'd like to buy her a dress. Unfortunately, the city is under martial law. I cannot even walk the streets. However, I'm sure they'll end it soon enough. I will continue to labor to my fullest extent, so that you all may live blessed, peaceful lives. So what? Father never came back after all. Society didn't let us live blessed, peaceful lives. I don't want some stupid dress to celebrate my birthday anyway. The girl looked about her. They were all just a bunch of morons. They had gotten drunk on the atmosphere. That's why they were so worked up over these damn letters. Look, some of them were even crying. Hell, that woman on the rooftop was probably just feeding them lies to begin with. The girl sneered, her mind flush with negativity. Right now, most of the people at this gathering were clamoring in criticism of the public execution. They were shouting for the sake of Hinata Natsumi, driven by nothing but a groundless sense of indignation. But she was different. Back when she was younger, everyone in her class had supported Hinata Natsumi. She had been the only one not to go along with them. She was smarter than that. The thoughts flashing through her mind were a poor substitute for her feeble legs. The next thing she knew, the trampled ground was before her eyes. It smelled like soil. She attempted to smile, to chide herself for her foolishness, but she could not manage it. For some reason or another, she could keenly taste the unmistakable flavor of salt. In the end, it seemed that she was merely lonely. She wanted to see her father. However, she had the feeling that she would not be able to see him unless she apologized to Hinata Natsumi beforehand. And so the girl continued sobbing, surrounded by sheer pandemonium.
Samara!
Settle! Members of the security police began pouring out of the school building. Hoizuki Masaomi had not yet granted them the permission to fire. Oh God Lord, would he do that? In fact, the current instructions were rather unreasonable. What was their superior thinking? Mr. Hoizuki was usually a much more ruthless man. For you see, they had been ordered to keep casualties to a minimum, even in the event of a riot. They had received other curious orders as well. For example, if Mr. Hoizuki were incapacitated, they were to issue a heightened state of alert and to ensure that Morita Kenichi and his companions could not escape the town. Going to such lengths for simple risk management demoralized the public security police. They felt as if Mr. Hoizuki had decided that the execution would be a failure from the start. They reluctantly held their fire, all the while attempting to subdue the raging townsfolk. However, they were severely outnumbered. A mob had already formed. It did not seem possible to suppress it without firearms.
このうねりはもう止められない。抗うことなどできない。あんたらのボスが言う社会のうねりってやつだろ。
You can no longer stop this wave. Why, this must be what your boss refers to as the will of the people.
私が見た内乱で政府に意見を申し立てた人々はみんな家族の幸せを考えていました。
The people who made the opinion of the government known shared one commonality. God damn it. They were all speaking up for the sake of the family's happiness.
おかしいことなんてないわ。
That's something pretty normal if you think about it.
皆さんに生きてほしいと私は思います。望んだのは生きる幸せを得ることなのです。決して生かされることではないのです。
I think they all wanted you to live, and to live clutching happiness. They did not wish for your lives to be made use of. Cries of agreement arose from within the crowd. Not a single one of these people had desired to witness a public execution. They had treated its presence as something inevitable. However, even despite their qualms,
この町のひまわりは我々と共に何度も踏みつぶされました。
the sunflowers growing in this town have been trampled upon many, many times, as have we. The people looked to the sunflower hanging from the roof, and in doing so they looked upon their past. The people could not simply forgive. They were well aware of what it meant to resist an arm of the state, such as the public security police, of course. More than that, however, they could not approve of their town being burned. They could not approve of their families being taken from them. At the very least, they could not oppose a lawless, barbaric act such as this. They could force society to butt its head against justice.
それでもまた生命が大地に根付きます。
And yet, the sunflowers defy all of this. They continue to cling to life, spreading their roots within the soil. Higuchi Ririko thought of her father. She had not even been able to give him a proper burial. She felt that this was inexcusable. However, as the fervor before her grew ever greater, she could not help but feel a murmur within her chest. Dad, can you see it? The seed of your ambition is still here.
たとえ何度踏みつぶされようとも、ひまわりはまた太陽へ向かって花を咲かせるのです。
No matter how many times it is trampled upon, the sunflower shall bloom once again, reaching toward the sun.
ならばもう一度踏み潰せばよい。
Then we must merely trample upon it once more. A man suddenly appeared on the roof. He silently approached the woman with the microphone, his handgun trained upon her.
樋口リリ子、私が直接お前を黙らせねば愚か者どもは沈まないようだな。
Don't kill her. Don't fucking kill her. How could she not realize that he's coming? No. Higuchi Ririko, it would appear that these fools will not keys their brain unless I take care of you personally. The man was none other than Hoizuki Masaomi. Alright then, I am going to end this episode here. I hope you could enjoy it. Leave a like to become a knight today, and I will hopefully see you then in the next episode of Sharin No Kuni. Stay tuned.